Okay, good morning. Fantastic. Okay, well, first of all, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. This is my first time ever in Bucharest, so thank you very much for that. What I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through 8 trends that we're seeing around the world. And I think all of you in the room today have customers of some sort. And I think that if not all of the trends, then certainly some of the trends you will see with your customers, and hopefully you'll be delivering it to your customers and hopefully experiencing it sometime. Okay, right, so let's go to the first trend. Customers today, we all want to see imagination everywhere. We want organizations to fire our imagination. Of course, the best example of this is obviously Apple. What Apple does is Apple helps us to imagine how our lives could be better with their products. And the genius of Apple is that before we bought their products, we never knew we needed them. And then after we have them, we can't imagine life without them. And that is why Apple is so good at firing our imagination. Another example of a company who does this, love them or hate them, what happens? You know, you go to IKEA to buy a light bulb and you walk through a bedroom, a kitchen, a living room, and suddenly you look at the way the light shines on the sofa, the way the pillow is on the bed, and you think, I need that, and I need that, and I need that, because suddenly you're imagining how your home can be better. And that's why imagination is so important. Another great brand, I live on coffee, and this is Nespresso. So Nespresso doesn't just give you a cup of coffee. Nespresso helps you imagine how you might become a barista in your own home. All these Nespresso wonderful things are called Premier Crew pods. They're not just any pods. Contrast this with their competitor, this is how they display their products. Certainly nothing to fire your imagination over here. Okay, second trend, and actually it's interesting because this has come up several times already, is the need for us as consumers to feel part of a community. And more organizations are understanding that we can't separate business from customers. This is a perfect example of a community. And a lot of banks are understanding that we don't really like them very much anymore. Sorry, any bankers in the room, sorry. So what they're trying to do is to kind of appear more human. And so a lot of this is a state bank in the States. And what they're doing is they're creating coffee shops in their banks so they can appear more welcoming and more comfortable, which is really ironic because banks started as coffee shops in the 1600s, and here we go full circle. Another great example of a community, this is a Puma store in Prague, and they recognize that their customers are mainly between 15 and 22, so why not create a youth club for them rather than a store? And you can see that the Puma packaging is actually very subtle, and this is what they kind of promote from it. But one of my favorite examples of a community is, this is an example of Zappos, in online retailer in Las Vegas, and they are so ambitious that what they're going to do is they're going to build a new community in downtown Vegas. Vegas you probably all think of as the Strip. The Strip is not in downtown Vegas, but what's happening is everything is in the Strip, so downtown Vegas is now empty. There is nothing there. So Zappos has decided to create a new community there. Big problem, there are no buildings in downtown Vegas, but that isn't going to stop Zappos. They are actually shipping containers in to actually build a community of containers in downtown Las Vegas. Then we have the third. I think this is the most critical trend in customer experience over the next few years. And this is the rise of peers. We no longer feel we need organizations. We've got our peers. And obviously the most famous example of this is TripAdvisor. How many of us have changed plans because someone we don't know, living 6,000 miles away, who could be an axe murderer, has said that room was dirty. And we go, fine, I'm changing my plans. And that is what our trust in peers is extraordinary. So extraordinary that in the UK, these two banks on the left are what we call peer-to-peer banks. These are bank people lending money to other people that they don't know. These are unsecured loans. You have no guarantee on them. And up until July this year, £250 million were lent in unsecured loans. So we trust banks, so we have so little trust in the banks, we'd rather put them somewhere where they're not guaranteed at all. And on the right, what we see over here is organizations that help us fund our business, crowdsourcing, crowd-funded businesses. And this is a great example of how peers and kind of community of consumers can be so powerful. Do you remember having Polaroid cameras and how great they were? Polaroid stopped operating in 2010, but their consumers loved Polaroid so much that a group of them kept the last Polaroid plant alive so that they could actually manufacture their own Polaroid film, and they do this. Now, what's amazing is just this September, this community of peers, this Polaroid consumers, have developed a new product where you can use your iPhone to take Polaroid films, and it's actually made by a Polaroid camera, funded by, obviously, crowd-funded sourcing. So this just shows you how all of these different dynamics are meeting together. So we have the fourth key trend, co-creation. We're seeing this everywhere. One example of this, for example, is when organizations ask customers to create something either with them or on their behalf. An example of this is KLM, who recently wanted to change their packaging for their sandwiches. So they said to their passengers, anyone have any great ideas? Someone came up with some. Then they asked their customers, which ones do you like the most? And they chose this one. Another example of co-creation this is across multi-channel. This is a television program in the UK called Home of the Future. It's a reality television program. A family went and lived in what could be the home of the future, and then all the viewers were invited to co-create. What should it look like? They were asked to co-create on Facebook, on Twitter, and various other places, so we could collectively design the home of the future together. But this is my favorite example of co-creation. Okay, this was a 3.5-year-old girl who went to Sainsbury's, who is one of the largest supermarket chains in the UK. She bought this bread on the right, which is called in the UK tiger bread. And she thought, that's really strange. It doesn't look like a tiger, it looks like a giraffe. Right, so she wrote to Sainsbury's and says, I think this looks like giraffe bread, not tiger bread. So Sainsbury's, one of the managers at Sainsbury's wrote back and said, you're right, it does look like giraffe bread. You're really smart, our bakers are really stupid, but this is what's fantastic. I went to my local Sainsbury's a couple of weeks ago, and look at this. Sainsbury's giraffe bread, previously called tiger. This is based on a 3.5-year-old consumer, and this is what co-creation really is about. When people write in, not only do they send them a voucher, they do something about that. That is amazing. Okay, so the sixth trend is newism. We love things that are new. The challenge is we want them new all the time. A few months ago, earlier this year, the big rage was draw something. 50 million users in 50 days. It took Facebook 3.5 years to get that many users. But what happened is that after using it for a bit, we all thought, that's a bit boring. It never changes. So then in 3 weeks, they lost 15 million users after they sold the business, though. So they're okay. But then contrast that with Instagram, who actually started off, relatively quietly. But what they've done is they've managed to create, what's that C word again? Communities. And they've managed to create communities of photographers, most famously with National Geographic photographers, who post these amazing photos and things and share them all around the world through Instagram. They have grown their daily usage by 10 times since April this year. Okay, so then we have technology. Obviously, how could I be in an environment like this and not say that technology is a key trend? Obviously it is. And so we're going to be used to using our phones as smart wallets and all of those things. The danger is that soon almost all of our experiences are going to be self-service, which is great because it's going to be fast for us and we're going to find it efficient. But the challenge is that if we see a human, that human better be better than a machine at service. And that is the big problem, is that our humans are not better than machines. But humans in service today need to be problem solvers. They need to be complaint handlers. Otherwise, why not have a machine? So we need humanity back in customer experience. Okay, and then last two trends, my favorite two trends. Number one is the importance of storytelling. Because technology is such a big part of our life, we also want a bit of warmth and stories. We help to, we work with Miele to help differentiate their products, which are essentially big white things, washing machines or whatever it is. And we said, tell us a story that we can use for their customers. Did you know that if you wash a rose, a fresh rose, in a Miele washing machine, it will come out as fresh as it was when you put it in. It will be completely undamaged. So we said to Miele, make sure that all your dealers display a rose. Don't tell them what the story is. Ask customers to say, why have you got a rose on your washing machine? And then tell them that story. This is a great story from British Airways. We redesigned BA's first class experience on board. And we asked them for great stories that we could share with their crew, who could then tell their customers. And this is a great story. British Airways seat is made of leather. That's not a big story. Don't get excited about that. But their leather is hand-stitched by Connolly. Those of you who are in the know will know that Connolly are also the people who make Aston Martin cars. So suddenly we've got the word hand-stitched, we've got Connolly, we've got Aston Martin, and by the way, that makes me think of James Bond. So we're associating all of these things with first class now. The other great thing is that all of this leather comes from Scandinavia. Why does the leather come from Scandinavia? Because there is no barbed wire fence in Scandinavia, which means the leather is never damaged. That is what a first class experience is all about, not a 72-inch chair. Okay, and finally, we end with kindness, of course. And the great organizations today, what they do is they show a little bit of random acts of kindness. Two final examples of kindness to bring a smile in to end this session. Number one, this is with Virgin Atlantic Virgin America last year with Banana Republic. And on one flight, 4 days before Christmas, what they did was they loaded lots of red boxes onto a carousel, and everyone who arrived got a red Christmas gift, completely unsuspected, and said, doesn't matter if you're naughty or nice, this is a gift from Virgin America, Merry Christmas. And this final one, this is RAC, which is if you break down on a motorway, this is someone who helps you kind of recover. And this example was based on a 7-month-old pregnant woman, and she rang up and she was stuck on the motorway, her car had broken down, and she rang up RAC and said, oh my God, my car's broken down, da, da, da. And she said, I'm pregnant, and she was full of hormones. I can say that because I'm a woman. She was full of hormones, and she's crying and stuff. And then she said, and then to top it all, it's my birthday. So she was really, really unhappy. So anyway, so the call center rang up, not this man, but a man that looked just like this. And they rang him up and they said, okay, can you go and pick this woman up? Blah, 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 blah. This is what her car is. This is what's wrong with her car. And by the way, you need to know, A, she's very hormonal. B, she's pregnant, and C, it's her birthday, right? So she told all of these things. Anyway, so this wonderful RAC man goes along, and what he does is he stops by a shop. I'm not kidding. He buys a bunch of flowers, and then he gets to the car, and he says, Madam, I'm here to help. And by the way, happy birthday. I think she named her child RAC. Anyway, so all I wanted to say is thank you very much. And may you have fantastic customer experiences. Thank you.